Good morning, everyone. This is the Kubeflow SDK and ML Experience for Group call on 24th of September. As always, we record these calls and publish them on YouTube, and we also follow the CNCF Code of Conduct, so please be welcoming to each other. So just before we get started, do we have any new people here on the call who just introduce themselves? Just want to say hello. Feel free to use chat. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, hello everyone. So I'm Akash. I work at Oracle. I've been contributed to a few of the other Qflow project, but yeah, this will be my first company call for SDK and here. So yeah, excited for that. I'm looking for something where I can contribute to SDK as well.
Thank you, Akash, for joining this call. Anyone else? All right, then I guess we can get started. So Edro, go ahead, like you can share your screen and we can go over the key items first.
And you can see my screen, right?
Yep.
So good morning, everyone. So there's a lot of progress that we are doing, especially on the front end for KO. But the first thing that I would like to highlight with everyone, that's Stefano. We are working on to onboard more people for the community. So Stefano wrote a nice document about KO architecture that it is looking for review and feedback for everyone. And I invite everyone to give a try to also review the document and also to understand how KO works. And the second thing that I'm working together with all others is that our main goal is to migrate v2.0 frontend dev branch to main. And this is something that Amriti and we created to split the Amriti work between backend and frontend. The backend was merged and the frontend was built on the top of our old version of the frontend. And then William and Hannah and myself, we started to work on top of this to stabilize the front-end extension, and we decided last week, William make this proposal and you agree, is that to clean up, we decided to recreate from scratch the extension and base it on the Jupyter template, the most recent one. And then we copy the code that Amrit did on top of it and doing some cleanups. And there is an open PR that I tried with William yesterday, and Hannah, I think Hannah, you are also doing the review for this, right?
Yes, I actually just finished the review and approved it.
Oh, that's cool. So I don't know, do you want to take a look on this as well, or should we merge?
I'll take a look by end of the day today, if that's fine.
Yes,
I've
perfect.
already
Yeah.
taken a look, but I'll probably try it out first at my end and test it out first, and then I'll approve it then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of lines, Amrit, on that, but don't get scared because remember that folder that we added, the lab station inside, it really is deleted. If you exclude that folder, it's not a lot of changes from what we have.
Yeah.
And we also need to do a few things that we need to rebase it. There's this branch on top of main, and that should fix the CI because Stefano fixed the CI in main, and send a PR later from this branch to main. And then everyone should start working on and from main now on. And as a next steps that I recommend to anyone, but I will wait for this PR get merged. That's why I'm in a hurry with this. Is that to fix open the editor after clicking edit pencil in the above cells, and also fixing the workflow for new Python notebooks with KO. This is 451 and after that 451 and 450. All right. Any questions on that?
No, just one comment. Amrit, if you need any help or if there is anything that is not working, just ping us directly on the Slack channel. Hannah, William can help you on anything you need around that.
Got it. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. And we want to unblock this to allow Hannah and William to proceed working on this. Do you want to go ahead, Adrian, on the next one?
Yes. The other day I was discussing with Stefano about what should be the next steps to move into a donation, scale donation to the Kubeflow community. That's an open question. I'm not sure about what are the next steps or how we should discuss that, but it would be great if we can soon start planning and preparing for that, because we believe that once we start unblocking these issues, we need to start also preparing the donation to understand what are the tasks we should split around the community.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I can help with this while Stefano is on PTO, because I know more or less the step of how this work. But I think the first step is to unblock the main here, and then have resumed the work of the team, and then you and I and Stefano can focus on the tasks on this, if that works.
Yeah, maybe we should like build some document or something like that, like where we can brainstorm, because once because actually something that we can do depending on the task we have is maybe we can work in parallel. Someone work on the more UI stuff, and someone,
Yep.
if I don't know if we need to enable some like dependable or security or whatever. I think it's good also to split the work and maybe have more people on board into this. But in the end, it's going to be something important, right? Despite of the 2.0 kill version, on how we are going to prepare and embrace these donation to the Kubeflow community. So yeah, I'm all for, like, maybe we should like create a document, link it here, and have it around to start discussing that.
I'll ping you on the chat for you and my we start on this, because I have some pointers in my notes from past meetings, and then we can start on this.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Do you think you can have this plan for the next meeting?
Yes. Yes, actually, for next meeting, Stefano should be around.
Oh yes, and we check with them. Yeah.
Maybe we need to review. We can have a plan, but we should review with Stefano first.
Anyone want to talk anything else about the Jupyter extension, Keo?
Yeah, so it's just a quick question there. So are you planning to have release before donation then?
Sorry?
Because I plan to have like the release before donation.
Oh yes. The release, the release is one of the first step on this list. I think the what Adrian means here is to have a checklist of things that you need to do to be ready to donate.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, like take a look, and again, Francisco working on, I mean, he has done all the updates and the PR for this application. It has everything there, but I would suggest you to take a look. Like I can post the PR here, so you can check the updated application that Francisco has updated, right? So the recent updates, but it should be straightforward.
Do you have the PR here?
Yeah, 1 second. So it's in the community repo. So this one. So this has like, we applying to like basically before we kind of split the application before proposal and actual application. I kind of ask Francisco to put everything in a single page, so it'll be much clearer for users, right? So basically, who want to submit the application, right? Yeah, it should be straightforward, right?
So and it's when I talk about, it's not about to propose for donation, to have a plan of tasks that we need to do in order to be ready.
Exactly. Yeah. The donation, of course, you're going to be later on, but if we need to start working on something, maybe we can parallelize that work and get more people from the community who wants to participate, like, and start creating like. My goal is maybe for next week, or when Stefano comes back, is to have a set of steps from now to the Kale 2.0 release, and later on the donation. So that's what I'm trying to find. What are the next steps we should be working on, so we can have a more clear idea of where we are going and what is more important to finish first.
Yep, that makes sense.
Should we go for the next topic?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, if there are any other questions, I guess Stefano is on PTO, right? So great progress. I think overall, let's follow up on this. I guess like would be interesting to. I know there is a work going on in the notebooks, right? I don't know about to have a concrete release yet, but we need to find something how we can, showcase it, right?
Probably I'm going to include later in the image by default.
In notebooks 1.0 or
we can push in one notebooks 1.0 image and add for the docs. It's like we can take one of those base images and that KO on top of it. by
Yeah, but
default.
we might need to make a manifest then release, right? Because we don't really, users cannot use notebooks without manifest as of today, without central dashboard. I'm talking about
Oh, no,
future notebooks 1.0,
oh
right?
no, yes, but if you can just build an image
Yeah,
and teach the users how to use that image inside the current installation, that will gonna work.
yeah. But I mean, the extension comes with the Python package, from my understanding, right? Jupyter extension.
Yeah, but in the image building in the image building we can pack by the default.
Yeah. But
Context
what I'm talking about, like, for Kale, like from my understanding, because it is Jupyter extension, you can just give the pipe URL for,
Oh
any-
yes,
and
yes.
you can install
Yep.
it, right?
In the end, when we have the release and everything, it's just pip install something
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we
just
get
yeah,
that
and
on
you
top
should enable this via Jupyter server, right? Jupyter server
But
can enable this.
exactly. But I think it would be cool for us as a whole working group to have a custom notebook image that install the SDK and also the KO by default.
Yeah, this we should do definitely.
Yeah.
Agree. I mean, probably. Well, we will need to find out if that is a bundle or something like that, or maybe it's like the extension and we install everything. And for sure, some stuff that we need to see is what is the actual Python version supported, because right now Kale is 3.10, and we should be seeing if we need to.
What I exactly mean is this. Oh, sorry. You're seeing my screen, right? With the Jupyter. Is to add one image to this for the working group that has the SDK and KO pre-installed.
Yeah.
We haven't updated those example server images in quite some time. So some of this extension or Kale work, does this require a minimum version of Jupyter Lab that might not be out there yet, or
It's 4.
Okay.
4.
Jupyter 4.
And again,
this is one of the
we
things that we did, Amrit.
Yeah, and we need to double check with the Python version 2, because that may change.
You might need to take a look at my feeling that those images using very old Jupyter version, Jupyter Lab version. So you might need to spend time to, update them as well. So
And I can send you whoever's editing, or I can add in a comment to these notes, right? But we're still in this weird spot of I have an issue open to decide what we're doing with example notebook server images. But if we're going to keep publishing to the existing registry or not, but this starts to dive into a little bit of the Kubeflow to Kubeflow notebooks migration for notebooks v1 and how we're publishing these images moving forward.
Yeah, I kind of I mean, I was, telling this for many years already, but I kind of we have some limitations that we don't run remote kernels today with notebooks, even, with V2. Because the problem that you have so many images because you have a different installation for, for the runtime. You have PyTorch, TensorFlow, CUDA, right, etc., which actually can belong to the kernel, not to the Jupyter by itself. Which means imagine you can build all those fancy extensions within Elira, right, project, right? So Elira doesn't have any really dependency for what runtime you require for you, because runtime usually kind of like a kernel thing, like Spark kernel or Ray kernel or Kubeflow kernel, whatever, PyTorch kernel, right, could be. So then you can delegate this to the kind of kernel capability rather than maintaining a bunch of images for your Jupyter Lab, right? Yeah, I think it's an open discussion, and I don't know if Notebooks Working Group will decide to go this road, right? But anyway, because having the good Jupyter Lab-based, image with all the extensions we build will be, I think, much better for the end users, right?
I agree. And I think we should have everything work by default.
Yeah.
With this image.
So anyway, so great work here. Anything else, or we can move on?
No, I just want to ask someone to share because I have to drop in 90 minutes and
Oh,
don't want
yeah.
to.
Let me share my screen quickly. Second.
And thank you so much for the work this 2 weeks.
Yeah, so all right, so yeah, I know we want to speak a little bit about Spark. So Shekhar, do you want to maybe share your screen and quickly talk about it before we jump to the other topics?
Okay. So let me share. Are you guys able to see the screen?
But now we only see white line for some reason.
Oh, okay. So is it good now?
Yeah, now we can see it.
Okay. So as we all know, via the Kubeflow SDK, overall reason started, we just want to have a unified SDK so that we can abstract the complexity of the Kubernetes and the different components Kubeflow provides. As well as we also want to make sure that from raw data to the enrichment of the data, then the training of the model, deployment of the model, and the operational part. We want all those things to be available in the single platform, which is Kubeflow platform. So multiple users will not be needed different platform to go there, like for Spark go to different platform, do the data enrichments or filtering of the data, and then write to some other system and then use the Kubeflow. So it is always better to have a unified platform where data engineers, data scientists, ML engineers can work together and do their respective job. As you can see, how much important Spark is for Kubeflow and the overall ML workflow and the pipelines. We can have raw data, like it can be petabytes of data. It might be through some message bus like Kafka, or maybe it can be from some data lake house like Iceberg or Apache Hudi in modern storage system. So since reading from those storage system is very much easier through Spark, and running some kind of transformation on it doing the enrichment on top of it through the Spark is easier. So most of the data engineers are using Spark tool. Since this is why the Spark is very important for us, and that's why we need a unified SDK for Spark that can be leveraged by Kubeflow users. So this is the whole idea about the Spark client. Similar to other components, the way we would like to instantiate the components like pipeline or catlib. Similarly, we would like to have some APIs like kubeflow.spark that will provide a wrapper over PySpark. So all the features or all the APIs that PySpark provides, plus all the different configuration that we use in Kubeflow ecosystem. So either it could be a different service account, authentication, authorization, or maybe volume mount, persistent storage. So all different things that we already have in Kubeflow namespace, those will be kind of wrapper over PySpark. So this is how I am envisioning. So I hope you all are also have similar thoughts how it should be available in Kubeflow SDK. And most of the API that PySpark will provide should be accessible through that. So this is this very simple example, like this is how we would like to read, doing some kind of transformation, and later on, once the data frame or it is written to some storage system, either trainer or other components can pick it up as a processed data, and then they can do their own processing or their own customized functions over there. So have you guys also thought the similar way, or do you guys have a different perspective for this? Let me pause for some time.
Yeah, I have like a few thoughts, but maybe anyone else want to say something?
Yeah, so the idea is to have the Spark Operator SDK as part of Kubeflow SDK, is it right?
Spark Operator doesn't have SDK as of now.
Yeah, so like develop the new Spark Operator SDK and make it part of Kubeflow SDK, right?
Yeah, like the rough idea
Yeah.
is Spark.
And
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
idea is to develop that initially on the Spark Operator side or start developing on the Kubeflow SDK part.
So the Spark operator will help in creating Spark cluster, right? And this Kubeflow Spark will help in submitting the Spark job to those Spark cluster. So basically, this is a way to interact with Spark cluster that we install through all the different ways in Kubeflow manifest or something. Like if someone has Spark running in, let's say, AWS EMR, that could be another way of configuring where to connect, basically.
Yeah, I think this is the question, right? Because I think there are two ways, right? I mean, there is a way that we submit stateful Spark cluster, via operator or via like, a pre-existing Spark cluster and use this client to connect, right, to the existing Spark cluster, basically using Spark Connect or I guess I think the Spark Connect is the way how you connect to the existing cluster, right? And otherwise, we can use SDK to submit Spark application CRDs, right? Because Spark application by itself is a CRD, right? And we can just have an abstraction which helps users instead of running YAMLs using just the Python client, right, to submit those CRDs. I guess to answer like
Yeah.
your question, I think so. Spark Operator right now doesn't have any sort of SDK, right? So I think the goal is to think about what should be part of Kubeflow SDK, because like what is the value propositions for scientists and maybe data analysts who want to run Spark on Kubernetes but doesn't know anything about Kubernetes or customer service definition, right? But I think the main differences here is slightly different from the PyTorch, because sometimes, I mean, in Spark, usually, as Shekhar mentioned, you write transformations, right? And those transformations, so you can use PySpark, yes, but some people maybe use Java, right, as well, right? So I think the experience might be slightly different to what we really have on the trainer side. Yeah, so I think my question here, so Shekhar, so why? I know the work is being done to support Spark with notebooks, right? Via
Yes.
Enterprise Gateway, right?
Yes. Some of the work is done in this summer of code.
So what is the value to use this SDK to connect to existing Spark cluster?
Through this API, or you
Yeah,
are
yeah.
mentioning should we directly use notebook rather doing this API?
Yeah, through this API or just directly use notebooks like via Enterprise Gateway, right? Jupyter Enterprise Gateway.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, this can be done through. So there are two ways basically, as you called it out. So usually people do experiments through notebook. So that's why the whole discussion started that how we can make our Kubeflow notebook and we can submit the Spark job through Jupyter Enterprise Gateway. So Enterprise Gateway helps in isolating all the execution part. Basically, just talk to it spin up a kernel, a pod, and the executors are running somewhere in the cluster. So in that way, it is scalable. But here, my intention is so there are two things. So one is if someone wants to write simple Python program and then they just want to run it anywhere, rather not just in notebook. So anyways, they can have one Spark configuration where to connect to Spark cluster and do all the processing. So that is one if they are not in notebook. If they are in Kubeflow notebook, then we can have some tuning, some parameters that Kubeflow notebook will understand, like Jupyter Enterprise Gateway, where that will connect, and Jupyter Enterprise Gateway needs to understand what are the Spark clusters available, to whom it should talk to submit the job. Basically, the drivers will spin up, then driver will talk to job manager and run the executors, right? So this is what we are thinking. So in notebook, definitely we need some kind of parameters that will understand that, okay, so we are running in Kubeflow notebook, and when we have this Spark, Kubeflow.Spark, that then it will take those configurations in account and then do the processing. So yeah, it is still not very clear how we will be doing it, but yeah, I hope I'm able to explain a bit.
Yeah, because I think, like, another way, as I mentioned, right, we can just, you can just use Kubernetes Python client, right? The Spark's operator has a Spark application CRD, right? The one that I linked. And Spark application CRD, it has the location to the main application file, right? It has the other configurations like driver configuration, executor, right, configuration. So all those things, we can, instead of asking users to submit a YAML, we can, ask users to just call Python API, right? Similar to what we do with train, basically, right? API. I was wondering,
Yeah.
I see the value of using SDK to connect to the existing Spark cluster. That definitely makes sense. I kind of like maybe see this as a next step. I was wondering if there are any value to have this client on top of the Spark operator, Spark application CRD, basically, right?
So while submitting, you are mentioning, or
Yeah. So yeah, instead of directly asking users to use kube control, right? They can just using our Python API like to submit those Spark applications. Does make sense? Um,
mm, how the API you are thinking in terms of like user's perspective, how the API will look.
Yeah, and this is like what I really like you're looking for, right? Like I want to like hear your perspective as well, right? Because I think so. My question is, so Spark application CRD maybe could be slightly complex for some of the parameters. Maybe doesn't need to be like exposed, or like we need to think,
Okay.
yeah, like either all the parameters needs to be set. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and how they should be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. Got it. Yeah, that should be in a Spark session and context side. Those configurations should be in the Spark session and the context side. Like this is for different job, they might want to have different number of resources, either CPU or memory. Those needs to be set up.
And
Mm,
do you understand, like, I know they also recently have the Spark Connect CRD, right? So have you explored what are the differences of those two APIs?
Spark connection, right? I didn't get chance to look into that. Let me keep a note.
Okay.
Mm, okay, Spark Connect. Swan. How we will and the resource side, right? For each session or job. Okay. Yeah, I think we need to think more how these things will work. Meantime, anyone had different thoughts, they can submit to and update the uh, Google Doc. The Yeah, so the other approach is on top of batch processing gateways. So as we already know that batch processing gateway provides an API where we can just submit all the content what we want to run in Spark cluster.
Yep.
And batch processing gateway is responsible to route to different Spark cluster based on different logic, let's say routing logic and FIFO logic or priority-based scheduling or something. It will route to respective Spark cluster and submit the job. So this have those resources parameters in the job submission time. So internally,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
basically,
Mhm.
yeah, so yeah, you can see that. So this is how it works. So basically, all the job specs will be in the post request basically. Those will be submitted to batch processing gateway, and then it creates the CRD for us, and
Mhm.
it can route and land to one of the Spark cluster as per different logic we have, routing logic we have. So
Yeah, I think
this
that
could be, yeah.
I
Mhm.
think it's mostly like replacement for KQ project, right? I mean, or different schedulers like Volcano doesn't really perform dispatching, but KQ can perform the same capability as batch processing gateway, from my understanding.
Yeah, I think there are multiple projects that are doing similar stuff. They are trying to do the CRD at their end. Um, and
Mhm.
some of them are originated from batch processing gateway project itself.
Mhm. Yeah, so I know that there is a work going on to actually integrate Spark operator within KQ. So for example, like they start to support managed by APIs and uh, I think suspend APIs. So the question would be, whether we really need batch processing gateway if the supported community, basically the community going towards more KQ as the main scheduler and dispatcher for all the Kubernetes workloads.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know like a lot about batch processing gateway in terms of their internals. Like probably we need to speak with Charan. Um,
Okay.
yeah, but I think like even so the thing is like if I have a client, just an abstraction on top of the Spark application CRD, like Spark job spec, we can still use batch processing gateway, right? We just need to our client needs to talk to this, gateway, right? That's it. Not to the Kubernetes kube API server, right? Um,
Correct. Yeah, and this gateway should be having enough permission to connect to Spark cluster and submit the job.
yeah,
That is
exactly.
fine. And yeah.
Yeah, because like similar
Since this
thing is,
is
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, this is mainly built mainly for REST APIs. And anyways, I think there are open API specs as well. So basically the Python
Yep.
SDK can be generated for this.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So I think, yeah, so again, we can configure our internal Spark client. So I'm talking about Kubeflow SDK Spark client in a way that it can talk to wherever like, we want to support initially. So for example, like for China, right, we talk directly to Kube API server, right? Like we creating,
Okay.
train jobs and we talk to Kubernetes API server. But for Spark client, if we, initially want to talk to batch processing gateway, we can also configure, our Spark client to talk to the gateway, right? So those resources will be submitted to the gateway.
Yep. Yeah. Although this is useful for very scalable and there are complex logic for prioritizing the job submission. This can be useful. The initial step, anyways, we can take with like in local development or in for the just development and validating if the primary goals are fulfilling or not with one Spark cluster that is already running in Kubeflow namespace. So yeah, we can think about it how users can submit different
Yeah, and mostly for your understanding, like the train job, right? Like right now we're talking about asynchronously train job, right? So when we call
Mhm.
train API, we create the kind of like PyTorch job which is starting from, like async batch job basically, right? Which means like
Okay.
we don't really connect to the existing PyTorch cluster. We're creating job all the time, user calls train. So similar to this, like for Spark, all the time user call, process or Spark submit, or like whatever API we decide to have, like we can create a new Spark application. So that will bootstrap the Spark cluster with driver and executor, and will execute the user transformations, right? That user defines somewhere like in a function. Like we can think about how those transformations can be set by the user. So it can be
True.
translated to the Spark application CRD, right? I would love to maybe understand more in terms of the location of the file, right? Because I know it has main application file API on a Spark application. So I don't really know how it works in the way how those transformation must be set.
Yeah, there are multiple actually multiple features that we need to think about it, and different corner cases as well. So one is definitely Spark job might be taking so much time, right? So it needs to be asynchronous, and people should be able to come back and see the results if it is very time taking transformation or something. Need to see how trainer works. Like in trainer as well, do we wait? I don't think we wait, right? We just move
No,
on
it's
to
just a
next
batch
cell and
job,
do that.
right? No, we just, they just complete the async job. So when user calls train, we're creating a train
Hmm.
job, and that will completely run asynchronously. So you can come back in 2 weeks and get the results. It's running on natively on Kubernetes, right? Using job sets.
Okay, so we get some kind of job ID that way.
Yeah, we get a job ID, right? And then we can come back and get the results using again the SDK API like get job logs or get job information, right?
Okay. Yeah, I think these kind of solutions are already there through uh, EV or some other REST-based Spark job submission tools. Let's I think we need more discussion and exploration.
Yeah, so I think maybe what would be helpful, Shahar, like if you can explore this and maybe prepare some proposal and we can maybe talk asynchronously on the SDK. So maybe some ideas like, what we can do initially, right? And what actually users want. Because I think like one of the issues in the thread in terms of one user want to have REST API server for Spark operator. I kind of like point him that we are working on supporting this in the SDK natively. So you don't really need to have REST API. You can directly using our SDK. And this user actually asking about whether we want to support Java, for example, as alternative to Python. So there are several discussions we should have in terms of what we want to have initially, right? To help
Yeah.
users actually submit those Spark jobs easily, right?
Yeah. Through notebook or okay, in Scala, anyways, there is possibility. In Java, not sure, but let's explore. Yeah.
Any other thoughts here?
Yeah, just overall, it will be good to have this maybe Google document for like proposal where we can asynchronously discuss what we want to expose to users and what we don't from Kubeflow SDK perspective. And I think that Spark operator was part of the Kubeflow SDK proposal, right?
Yep.
Good to proceed. Thank you.
Okay. Anyways, this need a lot of discussion and finalizing the plan and also the contributors. So yeah, let's make things moving so that eventually we come to the final goal and achieve
Yeah,
what
just
we
maybe
are
last
envisioning
question.
now.
Yes, Rufin Track. Let's maybe last question. So from your past experience, Shahar, do you see any value from users using Spark operator to use just Python clients, not, kube control, just directly using Python, in their Spark development?
Um, Pretty much, I think it's mainly about how we are tracking the overall life cycle of Spark application. That is one. Anyways, there are different ways of submitting job, and internally it will scale or get the results back. So yeah, so the first thing, as I mentioned, the another thing is authentication and authorization. Users are able to submit. So if it is more infra side, if it is close to infra side, people can do multiple things. They can kill some job or messed up with some job that is already running, right? So in terms of authentication and one layer on top of it, user will be abstracted from what is happening under the hood, and users will be only getting these public APIs to submit any job or checking the results back. So those are in terms of governing overall.
And you're talking about, Spark jobs on the existing Spark cluster, right? You're talking about Spark jobs, right?
Uh-huh.
So basically, like when the Spark cluster already been pre-created for users, right?
Yeah, Spark application is already running and people are trying to submit the jobs.
Okay. Yeah, like I would love to understand, like, because I guess like this is how AWS EMR, right, is managing those clusters, right? So yeah, we need to get some user feedback in terms of how those Spark operators been used, because I really need to understand. We need to understand more in terms of, whether end users have access to the Spark operator APIs, or they only connect to the Spark application then submitting the jobs, right? Because it's different ideas there. So I mean, different ways how users interact with the API. Yeah. So anyway, so maybe it's a good next step, like to submit the proposal, and we can definitely talk about it, continue discussing and collecting feedback on Spark operator community and here as well. What do you think?
Yep, sure.
All right. Thanks for this. I guess definitely we should drive this forward. I think we should definitely understand more how the SDK might be useful for Spark submission to have like end-to-end ML lifecycle with, data processing, training, tuning, etc. So I see value, like to having this in SDK. All right, so let's maybe quickly move on. So I know, so we just on us, like we release 0.1. This is great. Again, thanks a lot, Tanya, for working on automation of release. This is super helpful. I think we definitely need to have similar for trainer, because right now the release is just, one simple PR, and we don't really need to spend a lot of time to push all those images. So you can definitely try this out and install SDK with simple, pip install, and you can run some of the examples from trainer right now. You can fine tune models. You can train, you can perform distributed training at all those features we support with the trainer client API. We also added the support for local client. So we need to add the example on the trainer so users can try this out, right? I know, like, Brian, if I remember correctly, you've been working on this, right? To add support for the local client example.
I think it was Owen Fennessy. He's actually left Red Hat now. But I might take it up actually and try and finish it out.
Yeah, that would be really nice. Like if you, Brian, or Eder can take this off and finalize the example.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. Like for anyone like interesting, this is the changelog. We push the changelog to GitHub and also to the GitHub release. So you can see all those features we've been working on for 1.0.1 and bug fixes for trainer. So definitely take a look, like try this out. Let us know for the feedback. If there are any bugs, we will figure out, like we will see. You will see, basically let us know. We'll have a patch release. But I think overall, like as we discussed last time, we're planning to have more frequent releases. So the next one maybe definitely will be like in 1 month or sooner, maybe right after we release trainer 2.1. All right, anything else here? Yeah, I think like 2 items that we need to do. We need to create milestone for 0.2, and we need to update the OS says the Google Pro Infra. So I think I will create a PR to add this milestone there. So all the next PRs basically will go to the new milestone instead of the 0.1.
When did we plan to release Trainer 2.1?
Yeah, I think it's mid-October.
That's great.
All right, anything else before we jump to this optimizer discussion? All right, so for this, like, I do want to quickly go through this doc, and maybe we can discuss, yeah, some of those proposals.
Yeah. So since we have migrated Trainer SDK to Unified SDK, Kubeflow SDK, it'll be good to proceed with any other SDKs. And I think that Kitev SDK will be a good option for us since it's doesn't have a huge code base. Yeah, and it will be good to at least have two SDKs before KubeCon NA, so that we could present a demo with like at least two SDKs. Yeah, so the migration plan should be pretty much straightforward, similar to the Trainer SDK approach. So we'll need to migrate the APIs, generated APIs, to the project and then publish it to PyPy and import those from Unified SDK. Then we'll need to migrate the code base of the SDK, right? Yeah, any issues with that? Yeah, so we'll need to migrate that. We have a script on how to do that. Regarding Py project, so I know there was a discussion on proposal to have some of the SDKs as extras. So like if we look at the long-term approach for Kubeflow SDK, why do we want to include as default and what SDKs should be as extra or like?
Yeah, definitely. I think for long term, yeah, we should probably distinguish them, right? Like, if user want to install everything, we will install all those SDK. If they want to install maybe only tune or only train, they can specify it. I don't think it's a problem right now because we have really less dependencies. We only depend on Kubernetes and PyDating, right? And I think we can use the same version for, KTip and Trainer. And we use exactly the same version of Kubernetes. But I think if we kind of like have more dependencies like Torch or Hugging Face, then we need to think about extras, right?
Yeah, and also another thing that I wanted to bring up, but Brian, he mentioned, yeah, so for example, some of the components like pipelines, they have tens of extras, right? And we cannot have extra of extra.
Yeah, I see.
That's not something that have been considered as part of the proposal, right? So we either just have, like, for example, Kubeflow and extra as a pipelines, or we add like pipelines, Torch, or pipelines for that.
So basically we have an extra per every pipeline subsection, right? Yeah, I think like once we migrate the KFP, we need to definitely talk about it. I think we need to really understand like why KFP has so much extras. Because like they have like different backends, right? And there are some historical reasons as well behind it. So the question is like when we migrate KFP to the SDK, do we really need all those extras?
But is it only pipelines like the model registry? Do they also have those in other projects?
Yeah, about Feast, I'm not sure about model registry. Yeah, I think it's in the client, right? Clients.
Yeah, it seems like they've got.
I don't see extras here.
There is a HF on the 34 line. Yeah, bottom tree. Yep.
Okay, so Hugging Face bottom 3. Yeah, Hugging Face hub. I think it's probably like for initialization, right? Yeah, so let's definitely talk about it like after, KTip migration. I think definitely extras might be useful. The question is like we probably need to somehow, because I would imagine some of those dependencies will be cross-dependent. For example, like KTip might use Hugging Face Hub and model registry as well.
Yeah.
So which means like, if we want to use Hugging Face, we might, install SDK with this extra. So Yeah, I think we kind of like need to take a look in the all of them and understand the relationship, right?
Cool. So if we proceed with the KDIP SDK migration, then we include KDIP as the default one, not as an extra, right?
I think for the first release, yes. The one thing that we really need to probably do, as I mentioned here, we might need to rename the client to something like optimization job if we all agree to. Like I think like as we discussed last time, we're not going to change CRD right now for KTIP, but we're going to use a new kind of user-facing API for hyperparameter optimization. That is why like I really strongly suggest to, and we can do it easily because we can maybe we don't even need to support all the features of KTIP, right? We probably can just support hyperparameter optimization with algorithm, and this is pretty much it. Yeah, because like one thing we probably don't want to have is have KDIP client right now and then migrate to something else, right? That will be breaking change and that will affect users. So don't think it's probably the ideal, right?
So do we want to
Yeah.
just rename the client before the migration or like refactor the API? I guess just to rename the client name.
Yeah, I think we also need to refactor API. Like KDIP right now has the create, I think, experiment and tune API, which has a lot of information we don't really need. Like because it's already kind of been absolute because of new train job API. Like for example, like Tune, if you take a look in Tune, there has a lot of different parameters we use to perform LLM fine tuning. Like it was part of GSOP project, and I don't think we really need it because there are a lot of things which can be used with the new train job API. Like if you take a look in the Tune, it has a lot of things, right? Dataset provider, model provider, like all those things we don't really need. Like we need to have a very clear API to perform parameter optimization over train job, right? So I think the first thing we should agree, are we only going to support train job as the trials?
What's the point of supporting like Python job if we have trainer too? If that's
Yeah,
what
we could support jobs, for example, batch jobs, right? I don't know if this is actually needed, right? It might be needed if users want to use KDIP without train job. Maybe they perform optimization for something else. Yeah, I don't mean from my perspective, we can skip this support. We can only support, we can say you have to install train job controller and KDIP control plane for now to use it. And see like what users say in terms of, we're only supporting train jobs with optimization job. And then this is how you can perform hyperparameter optimization, right?
Yeah.
I think the only question I have, like in terms of API, I kind of like listed some of those questions here, but we definitely need to think about this optimize. First of all, do we like this name, like optimizer client, or I know it's been some discussions, right?
Well, what options do we have? Optimize the client.
Yeah, we have sweep, right? Like similar to weight and biases. And we also have study job. I think we also have tune. Tune kind of like probably will be confusing with fine tuning, right?
I think like since the proposal of the Kubeflow SDK, most of the people already call KTIP to be optimizer. So most of the people already got used to it. But yeah, I like this idea of optimizer client.
Okay. Yeah, so then I guess like, and I know we're time, like maybe, if we have 5 minutes, I just want to just enumerate here and we can discuss it offline, but a couple of things in terms of initialization. So we don't need to support this in the first release. We can have this in the future, but we need to think about, we have initializer on the train job side. We probably want to have initializer on the optimization job side as well, because you have multiple trials and you probably need to perform initialization only for the first trial, because all those trials can reuse the same data set and the same pre-trained model, which means like we need to have API on the kind of optimization side as well. Yeah, we can do this in the future. I think it's kind of not really blocking the initial support because we don't even support initialization on the train API, if I remember correctly, right? in the SDK, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like the one thing we should definitely think about. The early stopping. I think this is something that, for example, Raytune using scheduler API. So I kind of like propose few ideas. So early stopping, basically, there is not only so there are some algorithms which can affect pruning, like how you can create trials and kind of kill them because of the accuracy metrics. So how this API, where this API should live, right? Should this live in the optimization config, right? Similar to what I propose here, right? Or it should be somewhere different, right? Yeah, so maybe the good first step is kind of identify MVP kind of set of APIs we want to support, right?
Yeah, and then regarding like this optimizer config, if you go a little bit down, I think somewhere I put together
Oh, yeah,
the idea of the optimizer client but without optimizer config. Where is it? This
Here,
one. Yeah, so you just pass the trainer and that's it, and directly parameters. So if you use the optimizer client, it will be closer to what Ray does. They have this tune config, but if we don't, it will be like similar to Optuna. So yeah, we should agree on that. But
yeah.
I'm thinking about how we could proceed with that as soon as possible to not require quite a lot of API changes, but still
Yeah, I
make.
think yeah, but the trick is there. You will still require API change to support train job because right now SDK doesn't support train job, right? It only creates the Python job and the jobs, right? I don't kind of because we already have a lot of things in trainer. I don't really like expect a lot of changes required, to be honest. Because like a lot of things will be the same. Like, trainer has train API, similar to train API, we're going to have optimize API. So all other things we can exactly do the same, like get job, list job, wait for job status, right? Get job logs, for example. We can have get trial logs. So all those things will be very simple. I think the only thing that is needed is optimize API, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and because the other thing, like, how do you think we will perform substitution, like the substitution of hyperparameters? Because yeah, in that case, we probably need to kind of agree that we only going to support this via like the function arguments, right? Like the func arguments that we use for trainer, right?
I'm not sure I'm following that.
Yeah. So let me quickly show you. So train. So if I go to trainer, so probably we'll initially support only custom trainer, let's say, right? Not like built-in trainers. And if I go to custom trainer, some of those parameters like function arguments can be set. And we can say if you want to perform search over these parameters, you can use, you can basically define them. You can, yeah, do I have example here? Yeah, you can define them directly here. Like you can say function argument search over like learning rate, search over like search for number of epochs. And then we need to somehow convert this API to the KTIP experiment. And if you take a look at the KTIP experiment, it looks something like, I think we have this trainer example, right? Yeah, something like this. So in the trial spec, we have a train job. And here we should have the specific field which tell KTIP that it needs to substitute the parameters. And this actually, so this specific annotation can be anywhere in the spec. So it could be in the command, it could be in the arguments, it could be anywhere. So my idea was that we can probably create this trial based on the parameters that we set in the function arguments. So we take these function arguments and perform the substitution in YAO utils, right? So not substitution, sorry, but we specify the appropriate spec before we're creating the KTIP experiment, right?
Yeah, I may be a little bit lost, but I think I get what you mean. I'll need to consider that as well.
Yeah, but this, I mean, we can do this in the, I mean, I think if we agree on this API design, we can definitely achieve this. I think if we agree that we should specify the search space inside trainer, right?
Yeah,
This is the good idea.
I think that will be the best approach from our case. Yeah, so how do we proceed with that? If we set the action items to make sure that we proceed as soon as
So
possible.
I think so there are definitely some things we should do. We should create a KTIP. We should publish KTIP API to PyP, right? I think
That's the first
the
step.
step, which doesn't, which you or anyone else can take this this task, right, and just do. At the same time, like we can work parallel to propose some ideas to this doc. And let's maybe ask community for the review. We can give 2 weeks for review, and we can start do the work. So what is the deadline for us? So first of all, do we have a talk where we can speak about SDK on the
Yeah, we have it on not on the KubeCon but Kubeflow Summit. There's a Kubeflow SDK talk. Yeah, it's gonna be on the 10th of November.
10th of okay.
Yeah, so like introduce Kubeflow SDK. I think that will help with adopt the promote the
Yeah, that makes I kind of I don't expect there are a lot of really work required to migrate. I can definitely also help with the migration of SDK once we agree on the API design.
Yeah.
But we can take this tasks like publishing to PyP, and just to figure out if there are any really blockers from the KTIP side, right? Because the thing is we don't have release, right, even for KTIP. We can definitely show something without the release, right? Because we have the images from the latest changes. Yeah, but otherwise we can just publish the next release of KTIP with support of Tranjo.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I can take a look at the migration of the API models. As part of this, do we want to migrate KTIP to UV or do we stay with?
Yeah. So because you're talking, but to UV you're talking about the SDK.
Yeah, well, the SDK will be just migrated and will be part of Kubeflow SDK, which is already UV, regarding KTIP API models.
Yeah, I think so. We should do exactly the same we use for trainer, right? I think we use UV there. Let me see quickly.
Yeah, I think we use UV in trainer.
So no, no, I don't think we have it here. I mean, I think we just use hedge, right? And we can definitely, introduce UV for models if we need to. But do you see any kind of need to support, UV for
Not really.
models?
Just to stay consistent, but yeah.
I think we should just do exactly the same we've done for trainer.
Okay.
Right? And then let's see how it works. I think the only it will be some of the models might be the same, right, across trainer and KDIP. So in the future, we might need to unify, right, them somehow.
Yeah, like create a new repo and where we'll have all the SDKs or whatever. Yeah, we can take a look at that later on to not duplicate the API models.
Yeah, for covariance, especially, right. Makes sense. Yeah, definitely take this one, and in the meantime, let's work on the APIs. And again, maybe initially we should have something very simple. We don't need to support early stopping. We just need to agree maybe on metrics collection, they design for search space, and definitely the whether this optimizer config should live, right?
Yeah, whether we want to have this or just direct parameters. Yeah, so if there's anyone on the call who would love to take a look at the document, please take a look and share your thoughts and feedback. So
yeah, no overtime. Any last questions, comments on this proposal?
And do we rename the KTIP name of the project to Optimizer anyway soon?
Yeah, I think this probably will take more time because we need to, I think if we agree, we probably will raise this question again on the next call, on the AutoML call. But I think, yes, we probably need to be consistent with the name. The point is there we we also need to sometime in the future migrate CRD, and that will require the CRD changes, right?
Mm-hmm. And this optimizer client, will this require the probably no, the KTIP release? I don't think so, right?
You probably need modules, right? You might need modules, but if you don't release modules on the GitHub, you might need to use the modules from the master branch for now, right?
Yeah, but if we publish a Kubeflow SDK to PyPy, it's still required to have the models published to PyPy.
Yeah. So then I guess we need to have release, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this is. I mean, I don't see a lot of problems for us having the release for modules and KTIP changes. I don't think it's a big problem. Yeah, we can do it sometime in October. It should be fine.
Yep. Sounds great.
Right. Yeah, sounds great. I think this is great. Let's definitely follow up. I also will think more on the client design. But I think again, as we discussed, giving users some idea of what is future for SDK, I think very important. So they get training, optimization, everything in a single API, and maybe we can even support the built-in trainers. Like definitely there are not really a lot of changes will be required from our side to support them. Like for quickly fine-tuning of those, pre-built trainers with TorchTune and optimize hyperparameters with that.
Yeah.
So I think that will be really great.
Maybe it will be a good topic for the next Kubeflow community call to get more thoughts from Andrew.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's a good call out. Yeah, maybe we can propose this topic on Tuesday call. So I guess like in that case, before Tuesday, maybe we should prepare something to present to the community and ask for their feedback. Yeah, I will also like spend time to add some thoughts in this talk before Tuesday. So sounds good. All right, anything else? Sounds great. Thanks again for this work. This is amazing, and let's definitely follow up and keep us posted if you have any other questions for KTIP or how we can do this migration. Right. Thanks, guys. Speak to you soon.